This is Algebraic Reasoning, Chapter 1.8, Exercise 1 through 16. This section of the book, 1.8, has to do with cubic functions. So far in Chapter 1, we've dealt with linear functions, exponential functions, quadratic functions, and now we come to cubic functions. In questions 1 through 7 for each table below, determine whether the set of data represents a linear, exponential, quadratic, or cubic function. And we're going to just go through the paces here, and I'm going to work out the odd problems 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15. And we definitely, looking at it, do not have common differences. But I think there's a multiplication pattern, because if we take R is going to be A sub n minus A sub n minus 1. And what that means is we have any term divided by its predecessing term. And so in this case, we have R is going to be equal to 1 divided by 0.2, which equals 5. R is equal to 5 divided by its predecessing term 1, which equals 5. R is equal to 25 divided by its predecessing term, which is 5. And so that equals 5. If we go down the other two calculations, we also get 5. So we say there is a common ratio . Therefore, exponential. And what is that triangular dot, 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 dot? That means therefore. So we will have that answer for number 1. Next, number 3. We have this relationship here. We're going up by 1 on the left side, and on the right, we are going up 0 minus negative 5. That's going to be plus 5. 5 minus 0 is going to be also plus 5. So therefore, right now, we're on a pattern for a linear situation, but that's all going to change here. 40 minus 5 is going to be plus 35. And then we have 135 minus 40 is going to be plus 195. And finally, 320 minus 135, I think that's going to be 185. I think I made a mistake here in writing this improperly. Put down 195. It should be 95. So these are our first differences, not linear. And our second differences are what we would use to find if this function is a quadratic function. We have 5 minus 5, which would be plus 0. We have 35 minus 5, which is going to be plus 30. We have 95 minus 35, which is going to be plus, what is it, 60. We have 185 minus 95, which is going to be plus 90. So we have our second differences are not equal. So we have first differences, I'm going to arrow here, second differences, and finally we go to third differences. And to do that, we say, okay, we have 30 minus 0, we're going to have plus 30. And then 60 minus 30 is going to be plus 30. And then we have 90 minus 60 is plus 30. So these would be our third differences. Okay, so we say constant third differences, therefore cubic function. All right, so that's going to be problem 3. Next, problem 5. Okay, we see that we're going up by 1 on the left and the right. We have from 8 to 5. What do you add to 8 to get 5? Well, you add negative 3. And then we have 10 minus 5, which is going to be plus 5. Then we have 29 minus 10, which is plus 29. We have 68 minus 29, which is going to be, is that going to be 39? I think so. And finally, 133 minus 68. What is that going to be? We're going to put that's a 12. Borrow that for 13. So we get 5, 65. So this will be our first difference right here, not linear. Second difference, we have 5 minus negative 3 is going to be plus 8. We have 29 minus 5, which is plus 24. We have 39 minus, I said 29, that's not right. That's going to be 19. Why is that? 29 minus 10 is 19. Next, 39 minus 19 is going to be plus 20. I didn't fix this other one here. Really messed up. Okay, 19 minus 5 is going to be plus 14. We're going to get this squared away. Then 65 minus 39 is going to be plus 26. So these would be our second difference here. And finally, our third difference is going to be 14 minus 8, which would be plus 6. 20 minus 14 plus 6. 26 minus 20 plus 6. So we have third difference. So third difference equals 6. And since there is a common third difference, the function is cubic. Okay, so really that's all there is on that one. Next one, 7. We have this kind of relationship here. Definitely not exponential. Why not? Because there's no number we can multiply by 0 to equal negative 4. So we're going to go with the route of the polynomial function. And to do that, first going to take -4 minus 0, so we get -4. What do you add to 0 to get -4? Well, that's going to be -4. We have -28 minus -4. Well, that's going to be like -28 plus 4, which is going to be -24. Next, we're going to have -76 minus -28. So I'll work this up here. We got 16 here, and that becomes 6. So we got 48. So here we subtracted 48. Next, we have 148 minus 76. It's going to be 72. 72. And then we have -244 minus -148. So that's going to be minus 96. So that'll be our first difference. Next, for our second difference, we take -24 minus -4. Well, that's going to be -20. Then we have -48 minus -24, which is going to be minus 24. Then we have -72 minus -48, which is going to be, what is it, 24. All right, we write down 24 more. And then 96 minus -72, we have minus 24. Well, here our second differences are almost alike, except the outlier of this -30. So we're not linear, we are not quadratic. So for this one, we will say neither what? Exponential, abbreviate exponential, linear, quadratic, nor cubic. So that's one of those types of functions here. Okay, next, number 9. Okay, number 9, we're getting into a different exercise set here. For questions 8 through 10, determine if the given function relationship is a cubic function. If it is, write a function relating the variables. And to do this, I'm going to introduce the whole situation of what a cubic function consists of. The standard form or general form of a cubic function is going to be f of x is equal to ax cubed plus bx squared plus cx plus d. And d is going to be defined to be our y-intercept. So if we look here where, in this case, where x equals 0, y equals 0, so we will say d is equal to 0. Next, what happens is our first difference between x equals 0 and x equals 1. So I'll say first difference is equal to a plus b plus c. Next, our first second difference, and we'll see how this plays out, is equal to 6a plus 2b. And finally, our third difference, should we find one, is going to be equal to 6a. So our next thing we're going to do to work this out, you can I hope you can see how this unfolds, that the next value we can get to between a, b, and c to complete this equation here is going to be a. And we need our third difference to arrive at that. So we have our first difference here is going to be 0.5 minus 0, so we have plus 0.5. That's our first difference. Then we have 4 minus 0.5, which is going to be plus 3.5. Then we have 13.5 minus 4, which is going to be plus 9.5. Then we have 32 minus 13.5. And that's going to be, is that 17.5? Let's see. Yeah, I think so. And then we have 62.5 minus 32, which is going to be plus 30.5. So definitely our first difference indicates not a linear function. So we're going to come to do our second difference. And we have 3.5 minus 0.5, so we have plus 3. Next we have 9.5 minus 3.5, which is going to be plus 6. Then we have 17.5 minus 9.5. Let me see. Yeah. Is that going to be, I had 17.5, right? Actually, guys, I was wrong about that. It's going to be what? It's going to be 18.5. So let me fix that. So what we have here is 18.5 minus 9.5 is going to be plus 9. And finally, 30.5 minus 18.5 is going to be plus 12. And so we do not have common second differences, but third differences, we have 6 minus 3, which is going to be plus 3. Then 9 minus 6 plus 3. And 12 minus 9 plus 3. So our third difference is equal to 6a. So we have our third difference is 3. So from here, we can say, okay, 3 equals 6a. And so what is a equal to? Dividing both sides by 6. A is equal to 1/2. And so we have d equals 0 up here. The upper left, I'm going to say a equals 1/2. Okay, next, we say that the second difference is equal to 6a plus 2b. So here's the second difference, okay, which is 3. So 3 is equal to 6a plus 2b. Well, we know that a is 1/2, so 3 equals 6 over 2 plus 2b. So we have 3 equals 3 plus 2b. And when we subtract out 3, we get 2b is equal to 0. So therefore b is equal to 0. So we go here and say b is equal to 0. And then we have our first difference, a plus b plus c, is equal to our first difference. Well, it's going to be 0.5. So I'm going to write over here. I'll just write down here, a plus b plus c is equal to 0.5. Well, already we know that a is 0.5, so we have 0.5 plus b, and b we've already determined as 0, plus c equals 0.5. So just going to the right here, we have 0.5 plus c is equal to 0.5. So therefore c is also equal to 0. I'll put up here c is equal to 0. So our function here is going to be f of x, or we'll say y, because that's what the y equals 1/2 x to the third power plus 0b, which is 0, plus 0c plus 0d. So what is our correct answer here? Y equals 1/2 x cubed. Next, problem 11. We write a cubic function for this, and the same type of process. We go get our first difference. We take 0.25 minus 0, so that's going to be plus 0.25. We have 2 minus 0.25, which is going to be plus 1.75. We have 6.75 minus 2, which is going to be plus 4.75. We have 16 minus 6.75, which is going to be plus 9.25. And finally, we have 31.25 minus 16, which is going to be plus 15.25. Okay, this will be our first difference. Okay, first. Okay, our second is going to be 1.75 minus 0.25 is going to be plus 1.5. Next, we're going to have 4.75 minus 1.75, which is going to be plus 3. We're going to have 9.25 minus 4.75, which is going to be plus 4.5. And finally, we're going to have 15.25 minus 9.25, which is going to be plus 6. So if we go ahead and do our third differences, we have 3 minus 1.5 is going to be plus 1.5. We have 4.5 minus 3, which is going to be plus 1.5. And 6 minus 4.5 is plus 1.5. And then we have our y-intercept is 0, so we know that d is equal to 0. And so that's related to the form f of x equals ax cubed plus bx squared plus cx plus d. And we know that d is 0. And our third difference, okay, is equal to 6a. So in this case, we say 1.5 is equal to 6a. If we divide by 6 to solve for a, we're going to get 1.5 divided by 6. So A is going to be equal to 1/4. So I'm going to write A is equal to 1/4 up here. And next we say our first-second difference, which I'm going to circle in red. Our second difference is 1.5, right? And to analyze what that is, we're going to say 1.5, which is our first-second difference, is going to be equal to 6A plus 4B. Well, already we've defined 6A as our third difference, so you have 1.5 equals 1.5 plus let's say 4B. Where am I getting these things from? It should be 2B. So we have 1.5 equals 1.5 plus 2B. And so when we solve for this, we're going to get 0 equals 2B. So B is equal to 0. So B is equal to 0. Finally, C, which is our first difference, is going to be A plus B plus C. So I'm going to go here and say, okay, 0.25 equals A plus B plus C. Well, we already have defined A as 1/4, so we have 0.25 equals 0.25, and B we've already defined to be 0 plus 0 plus C. And again, if we subtract 0.25 from each side here, we get C is equal to 0. So I'll put C is equal to 0 up here. So our function is going to be y equals 1/4 x cubed plus 0x squared plus 0x plus 0. So this is going to be our answer to problem 11. Y equals 1/4 x cubed. Next on our problem 13, okay, we're going to go about the same process here. We have in this instance a y-intercept of 1. So in this case, we do say d is equal to 1. So we're going to get a plus 1 at the end of this equation. Okay. So next, we go through the paces to find out our third differences, because that's going to be the first thing we're going to be able to take a look at. So we have 9 minus 1, which is going to be plus 8. We have 57 minus 9, which is going to be plus 48. We have 181 minus 57. Let's see, it's going to be what is that going to be? It's going to be plus 24. Is that going to be 124? I think it is. Let's check it out, because if we add 124 to 1, or would it be 134? Yeah, 124, that'd be right. Okay. Next we have 417 minus 181. Well, that's going to be 217 plus 19. So that's going to be plus 238. Is that right? And then 801 minus 417 is going to be 384, is it? Yeah, there may be a little mistake in there somewhere, but these are going to be our first differences. Our second difference is going to be 48 minus 8, which is going to be plus 40. Our next one is going to be 124 minus 48, which is going to be 76. Next one's going to be 238 minus 124, which is going to be plus 114. Is that right? And the last one we have 384 minus 238. That's going to be plus 1. What? I'm going to say 150. This will be 140 something. So let me try this. Numbers are getting too big for my brain. So we're going to have 14 here. And this 8 becomes a 7. So we have 6, 7, 4, so 146. And finally, our third differences are going to be 76 minus 40 is going to be plus 36. Then we have 114 minus 76. Man, it's going to be because that's going to be 6 there. That's what that is. So that's going to be 112. Right? So that's going to be plus 36. Fixing my errors as I go. And then we have, okay, we change that one. And it's going to be plus 36. That's going to be 8. There, because I changed that one there. Yeah, that's going to be plus 36. Okay, yeah, doing this math in my head is just... Anyway, we have our D is equal to 1. Next, we have our third difference is equal to 6a. So we say 36 is equal to 6a. So dividing by 6, we say a is equal to 6. So a is equal to 6. Next, we say second difference is equal to 6a plus 2b. So here's our second difference. So we say 40 is equal to 6a plus 2b. Well, 6a we've already defined to be 36, so 40 is equal to 40, and it's equal to 36. Plus 2b. And if we subtract 36, we get 4 is equal to 2b. So we say b is equal to 2. So b is equal to 2. And next, our first difference there is 8 is equal to a plus b plus c. And so 8 is equal to a, which is 6, plus b, and b is going to be plus 2 plus c. So we have 8 equals 8 plus c, so therefore c is equal to 0. So c is equal to 0. So what is our equation? It's going to be y is equal to 6x cubed plus 2x squared plus 0c, right? So I'm not going to put any x term there, plus 1. So that should be our answer for 13. One thing I'd suggest to work alongside this, if you have a little calculator to help you with the little first and second differences, that could be quite useful, because you can see And just working this out without a calculator, I've made a couple little errors going on. Next, 15. Well, definitely already we can see that we have a y-intercept of -1, so d is equal to -1. Next, we can go through the paces to find this out. So we have, what is this? 0.3 minus -1 is going to be plus 1.3. 7.4 minus 0.3 is going to be plus 7.1. 25.1 minus 7.4 is going to be, and here we go again. So we have 11, which makes this 7, and we change this 25 into a 24 since we borrowed from that place. So 24 minus 7 is going to be 17. So 17 plus 7.4 is going to be 25.1. Is that right? Yeah, that looks good. Okay, and 58.2 minus 25.1, that's going to be plus 33.1. And the last one we're going to have is 111.5 minus 58.2. So we get 0.3, and 111.5 is going to be 53, is it? 53.3, I think that's right. So now we have our second differences, and to find our third difference, 7.1 minus 1.3, that's going to be 5.7. 5.8, is it? I think so, right? 5.8, yeah, that's right. 17.7 minus 7.1, that's going to be plus 10.6. Next, we have 33.1 minus 17.7. So it's going to be something 0.4, I know that. 17 is going to be 16.4. It's going to be 16, no, 26. 26.4. Is that right? No, it's going to be 16.4. Do that. So let's say 16.4. Next one we're going to have 53.3. We get plus 20.4. Is that right? Yeah. So we have 10.6 minus 5.8. That's going to be 4.8. We have 16.4 minus 10.6. That's going to be, is that going to be plus 4.8? And then we have 20.4 minus 16.4. That's going to be 20.2. Is that right? Yeah. So this is going to be plus 4.8. So for this one, we're going to say our third difference is 6a. So we're going to say 4.8 is equal to 6a. If we divide by 6, we have A is equal to 0.8. Okay, so I'm going to put A is equal to 0.8. Next, we're going to have our first second difference is equal to 6A plus 2B. So I'm going to go over here, our first second difference. So we say 5.8 equals 6A plus 2B. And we already got 6A here, so we have 5.8 equals 4.8 plus 2B. So we subtract 4.8 from each side. We have 1 is equal to 2B. We divide by 2. We have B is equal to 1/2. So I'll put B is equal to 1/2. And the last one we have is our first difference is equal to A plus B plus C. So that's going to be this 1.3 here. Okay. So we say 1.3 is equal to A plus B plus C, and we know A is 0.8, B is 1/2 or 0.5, and plus C, well 0.8 plus 0.5, that's going to be 1.3 equals 1.3 plus C, so C is equal to 0. So C is equal to 0. So what we have here is our function is y equals 0.8 x cubed plus 1/2. Now I'm just going to decimalize that for consistency's sake. So I'm going to say plus 0.5, you can call it 0.5x squared, plus 0c minus 1. So that's what it's going to look like here, 0.8, 0.5. Really, that's it. So quite a bit more of a complex process here with these other ratios. And this, of course, is done without a calculator. And I hope I've cleaned up mistakes appropriately. Good luck, and thanks for viewing.